so mad. I am so mad about the Detroit Cardinals game. As a Kyler Murray fantasy football owner, I am honestly livid. I may have made a short joke on the fantasy football podcast, mostly because Kyler Murray came up short of my expectations. And I was so livid Sunday seeing 12 points against the Detroit Lions from Kyler Murray. But this is not a fantasy football podcast. This is not the fantasy football take. This is just my own frustrations. But I do think if you're a Cardinals fan, you do have to start worrying a little bit because we've started to notice trends. We started to notice trends from Kyler Murray. We started to notice trends from Cliff Kingsbury in December. Currently, as it stands here today, the Cardinals have lost both of their big December games against the Rams and, as it turned out, the Detroit Lions, to the point where you have to wonder if this is almost an endemic issue on this team when the games start to matter a little bit more, because they went from coasting to the number one seed to not having to worry about, as I mentioned earlier, going to Lambeau, to now they're in a tie for the division. They might lose the division. They might lose home field advantage. They might have to be a wild card team on the road when it comes to this playoff season. And the only way they're going to avoid it is by beating a Colts team that is 4-1 in their last 5 games. A Colts team that has forced a turnover in every single game this season. A Colts team that forces a lot of turnovers. In fact, leads the NFL in that. We talked about the struggles that the Colts had at one point defensively. They've turned it around. They fixed it. And maybe they have larger issues that the turnovers are masking, but the point is they force them. And right now, the Cardinals are starting to leak the ball over. They're starting to have these bad turnovers. They had the bad turnovers against the Rams. They had the bad turnovers against Detroit. You should not be down 17-0 against the Lions. Man Campbell should not be manhandling you when you're only lost 2 games on the season to that point, 3 games on the season, whatever it is. This is just a shocking turnaround when it comes to the Colts, and certainly a shocking downfall when it comes to the Cardinals at this point in the season. Maybe not so shocking. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Kyle, as again, the producer of the Red Reigns podcast with Walter Mitchell, correct? I got the host right?
That is correct. Yes. With SB Nation's Arizona with Cardinals SB Nation.
Page. Yes. All those things. Tell me, what are you expecting from the Cardinals in this game?
Ooh, this is a loaded question, isn't it? Because the Arizona Cardinals have been interesting. The NFL is one of these weird sports where the team you are at the beginning of the season isn't always the team you are at the end of the season. And the Colts and Cardinals are both 2 of these teams where it took a while for the Colts to start to get rolling. A lot of it was the offensive line getting healthy again, and the fact that they've had remarkably good luck in health this year in regards to the rest of the league. In Indianapolis, when I thought that it looked like this run was coming to an end for them with Costanzo retiring over the offseason and losing guys like, what is his name? The guy who went to the Titans, Danico Autry, losing guys in free agency. It started, and Darius Leonard's contract coming up and Quentin Nelson's contract coming up, that they were going to have to kind of retool this team over the next couple of years. And the Colts are actually legitimately good. Like, I think the Colts beating the Patriots was not as surprising as some people made it out to be, considering I picked the Indianapolis Colts to win. Part of that was just game theory, that you picked the Patriots and so I picked the Colts, and the Colts ended up winning. It just happened to work out that way in the pick.
I did say they were close. I went back and forth with that as well. I gave a slightly, and I thought Belichick would have came out a little bit stronger, but the Colts, hey, remember, I've been one of their early supporters going to this point of the season. And so far to this point, I mean, they've only gotten better. You talk about you not being the same team as you start the season as to end the season. I think that just goes into the NFL being a game of adjustments.
And for the Arizona Cardinals, you look at the team that they were at the start of the year when they had that really long win streak, and Kyler Murray was an MVP candidate. And we were all surprised that Arizona had been that good, because most people picked Arizona to finish last place in the NFC West to start the year. And part of that was because all the teams in the NFC West are very strong. The Seahawks ended up not being the strong team this year because Russell Wilson got hurt, but they're still, an okay team. Arizona came out really hot at the start of the season, and then Max Williams got hurt. Then J.J. Watt got hurt. Both of their guards got hurt. DeAndre Hopkins has only had 600 yards this year, and now he's going to be out until potentially a playoff game. And the culmination of that was just they got smacked by the Detroit Lions. And Jesus Christ, who would have thought that the Arizona Cardinals were going to get just beat, smacked?
If they just lost by a couple points, late field goal, whatever, they were down 17-0 out the gate.
Remember when we were talking about the bottomless pit of hell that was the 7th seed in the NFC a couple of weeks ago, and you really wanted to talk about how the Falcons had a chance to make the playoffs? I said that the Falcons would lose every single game the rest of the season, and that included the game they play against the Lions this week, because the Lions, for all the jokes we've made about them, they have been really, really unlucky in one-possession games this year. In fact, the unluckiest team in the NFL in one-possession games. You know who's been the luckiest team in the NFL in one-possession games? The Atlanta Falcons. So it felt like it was a perfect culmination. And then I couldn't even get to be ahead of the curve because the Lions won, and now it's a trendy pick to pick the Lions over the Falcons. So I couldn't even take that one and run with it that I said 2 weeks ago that the Falcons would lose to the Lions. But all of that to say, Detroit is not better than Arizona, but they're not as bad as their record suggested. So the line probably should have been a little closer than 12.5 in that game. It's just everyone was betting the Arizona Cardinals. Did not expect Jared Goff to have the 5th highest passer rating in the entire NFL that week.
8-1 in his career against the Cardinals.
Yeah,
it's really stats dumb. That exists.
Yeah, and that also includes John Walford winning one of the games against the Arizona Cardinals, because it's all very weird. All of this for this game, I'm going to take the Colts in this game, and the reason I'm going to take the Colts is Colts are really good at football. The Arizona Cardinals, this is a game that I probably would have said they would have lost before they lose to the Detroit Lions. The fact that they lose to the Detroit Lions gives me pause for concern. I will say, though, the one thing that's always working in the Arizona Cardinals' favor is that quarterback. And that I don't know how healthy Kyler Murray is at this point in the season. I know he took a month off to recover from injury, which means there's no real way he's back to 100% at this point. But whatever percent Kyler Murray's playing at, the last 2 games, he had a 60 passer rating and a 70.2 passer rating in the loss to the Rams and the loss to the Detroit Lions. But we know that Kyler Murray, when healthy, can be one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL and give you 120 passer rating. So Kyler Murray can do it for the Arizona Cardinals to at least keep them in the game. Not that the Arizona Cardinals need help staying in games. They're still a very strong team regardless, with a pretty good defense, I'll say. You know, we thought their secondary would be terrible to start the year, and then they were really good, and now they're playing terrible again. So it's really hard to figure that out. But Arizona has Kyler Murray, and having Kyler Murray always gives you a chance to win against teams like the Colts.
Yeah. And that's somewhat of a problem statement there. You did mention with the caveat, if Kyler Murray is healthy there, but we're in December. Not a lot of players are healthy. There's so many banged up quarterbacks. I mean, there's so many NFL veterans that would say no one's healthy in December. So Kyler Murray just at this point in the year, and I don't know if it's also reflective of last year, has to just grit his teeth and power through, because you're right. He is the driver on this team. He's the franchise quarterback. He's the guy that the Cardinals are going to have to decide in a year or two, what type of insane contract are we going to give you?
Technically, this offseason, Kyler's eligible for an extension beginning.
He is eligible. I might be willing to play it out one more year. If I was running their team, but that's not my decision to make. Either way, you're looking at this point where if he continues to falter in December, that is not a good thing for your team. That is not a good thing when it comes to doling out a huge contract. Now, I will say where I agree with you here. I'm going to go with the Colts too, but it starts with just the dark horse of dark horse MVP candidates, Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor going against a Cardinals run defense that is bottom 10 in yards per carry, that almost allows 5 yards per carry. And we have seen this man. He is about to, if he scores in this game, 11 straight games with a touchdown, which I believe, I may be wrong here, is an NFL record. Jonathan Taylor has been on another level this year. And even when Derrick Henry comes back, there's a legitimate argument to be made on who is the better running back. I guess it's more of a pick your poison type of thing. You probably lean with the bigger guy, but I guess it depends on what type of Derrick Henry do we get back when he comes back from this injury, because we've seen injuries like that, particularly a big guy. You hear about foot injuries. You don't like any of your big guys going down with a foot injury. Jonathan Taylor, I think, will be legitimately a cover boy, number 1 fantasy running back for the next couple years here, as we start to see the other old guard of Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry even start to get injured and banged up. Jonathan Taylor has been a game changer this year. Carson Wentz didn't even have to do much. He was on cruise control in that Patriots game, which is probably for the best because obviously the Patriots, whenever Carson Wentz was throwing the ball, they were licking their chops there. But I just love that Jonathan Taylor has turned into a guy that could just call game. His late run there that pretty much sealed the deal for the Colts. It tells you that he has been just out of this world this season for him. And as much as I hate picking against a team to lose 3 straight games, especially a good teams don't typically lose 3 straight games. I do have to go with the Colts because they're playing consistently good football. Just at the end of the day, it's just good football, which I think is the important thing.
In fairness, the Rams did technically lose 3 straight games also, and I still consider them to be a very good team. So
yes, I'm just saying I don't like picking a team that I consider good to lose 3 straight games. I think the Rams, when it came down to it, it was just scheduling. Obviously, you have a bad game against the Niners. You go against the Packers. Who else did they lose to in that stretch?
The Titans.
The Titans. You face 3 good teams in a row. The Cardinals, I guess, really have no room for error considering they also face the Lions sandwich in between theirs. Potentially theirs if they go on. In fact, this 3-game streak that we're talking about here.
Yeah, I think Arizona is faltering at the wrong time this year. Injuries are going to be the reason that they probably don't make a deep playoff run. Their season will end, if it doesn't end against either the Rams or Cowboys in the wild card, it will end whenever they have to travel to Tampa or to Green Bay. I feel pretty secure in that, but that's still a victory for Cardinals fans. And the thing I say with Walter on the podcast a lot is whenever Cardinals fans get down is like, you have that quarterback for a decade. That special quarterback is going to be there for a decade for your franchise, barring, health totally falling apart for him like RG3. But that dude looks good, like he's going to be special for a long time. And that's a victory for Arizona.
He's going to be fun, but I guess a big determining factor and a good comp for Kyler Murray is he going to be Russell Wilson without the early career success? Because if Russell Wilson doesn't have that Super Bowl, how do we look at Russell Wilson's career? Yeah, he probably has a little bit more bells and whistles than Russ. When you talk about his ability to run in the open field, I think he's a little bit more dynamic in his ability to play make in that area, whereas Russ relied more on just scramble drill, just get out of the pocket and just make some crazy bullshit happen. They both have a very good deep ball.
Sorry, I was going to say, while Russell Wilson is a very good athlete, Kyler Murray is almost universally regarded as the greatest high school football player in the history of the state of Texas. So I would say
Kyle Allen break his records or something like that. Not that it matters. Like that. Not that it matters, but I just find it kind of funny that you think about bringing up high school stats. I think Kyle Allen technically has him beat on
but he made it to the NFL. Kyle Allen made it to the NFL.
Just tells you it's a lot of good products coming out of the state of Texas. Am I right?
Kyler Murray feels like more talented Russell Wilson. That's where I see him right now, is like more talented version of Russell Wilson at a younger stage.
But when he gets that contract, when you get him for the next 10 years, will you be able to build the team around him that is necessary? Because he didn't come into the league with a Legion of Boom in his backyard.
This is totally fair. I don't know if the Cardinals will win at that level that the Seahawks, one of the greatest winning teams of our lifetime, will win at. But I think that even still, the Cardinals can be very successful with a $45 million contract for Kyler Murray that's about to be signed in a few months.